Van Dyke is so cute. I just really want to meet him before he, you know.
I know there's some celebrities that I just like really want to meet or work with in my lifetime, but they're really old. Mm-hmm. And so I just don't feel like that's going to happen. But it's really sad.
Yeah.
Because I always thought when I was younger and celebrities would die that our parents grew up with or grandparents grew up with, and everyone was so sad. And I was like, yeah, it's super sad, but it's not like you knew them personally. Mm-hmm. And so I never really understood it. Now I feel like when I think about these people, even though I didn't grow up with Julie Andrews and Dick Van Dyke, like they were already kind of old when I was born, it's just the thought of them not being around is really sad. And because I want to be an actor, so it's like if they are gone, then I'll never get the chance to act with them.
Mm-hmm. I was really sad when Queen Elizabeth died.
I know.
But that's also because I'm related to her.
Also, everybody was really sad. But I've been watching season 6 of The Crown. I'm only on the second episode, but so far, like, I love that show. And then I wasn't as big of a fan of season 5, but I really like season 6. But in the episode I was watching last night, she kept saying something that was so funny.
Queen Elizabeth?
Yeah.
Oh. Was it bloody hell?
Yeah, Queen Elizabeth says that a lot.
Yeah, that's my new favorite phrase. Apologies for the language.
It was really funny, but this isn't a good story because I have no idea what it was.
Yeah, that wasn't a good story. You can check and get back to us next time.
The problem with getting older is your memory goes so fast. Like, I didn't think I had to worry about that until I was in my 40s or 50s, but man, is it really rampant right now.
Me too. I feel like I'm 80 years old with my bad memory.
And it's so frustrating. I always just thought it was funny, and like when my mom would talk about that she couldn't remember things, I was like, oh yeah, mom can't remember anything. But I didn't realize that it was actually like really psychologically upsetting. But when you can't remember something that you were just thinking about 5 seconds ago, it feels like you're losing your mind and going crazy. And I can't believe that I'm only 20 and this is already happening to me.
Me too. Like, people will be talking about things that we did when we were younger that happened a couple years ago, and I have absolutely no recollection of them. Like, you'd think I wasn't there, and everyone else remembers. We recorded a podcast on Wednesday, and then on Friday, I texted Aspen and was like, I'm so sorry we didn't record the podcast on Wednesday, but we did. And I do things like that probably 10 times a day.
It's really a problem.
Yeah.
But also sometimes I feel like you're just not quite present when things are happening, because we'll talk about something in front of you like 5 times. Then we'll say, oh, we're leaving for Aunt Lisa's house. And you'll be like, I didn't know we were going there. And we'll be like, yeah, we've been planning it for a week. No one told me. You were in the room when we made the plan.
No, people just assume that when Aspen's in the room, we're both in the room. And so they always make plans and don't tell me and then get mad at me when I don't know. But nobody tells me.
You're right. You caught us.
I know. But going back to celebrities, I was wondering, when there's celebrities that you really, well, I don't want to say celebrities, when there's actors that you really admire, do you want to work with them in your lifetime, or do you feel like you hope you never meet them because it'll be too stressful?
I think I would be really nervous and stressed to meet the actors that I really admire. The funny thing is that I'm not a very starstruck person. I feel like, first of all, I don't think I would recognize most celebrities if I saw them on the street. Like, I'm sure I've probably passed celebrities at LAX or in LA and had no idea who they were.
I don't think we've had a single celebrity spotting since we've lived in LA.
I've probably had classes with some of the sports players' kids or something, and I would never know.
The sports players?
But I have a few actors who I just really admire, and I think I would be really intimidated to meet them. But I really want to work with them because I just think they're so genius that I think it would be such an incredible experience. But I wouldn't want to meet them just like meet them, you know. I mean, I don't really think actors do this, but like singers sometimes have a meet and greets after their concerts. I would never, ever, ever do that. When I was little, And we would go to Jackie Evancho concerts a couple times, and my parents would always be like, we looked to see if she was doing a meet and greet, but she's not doing one here. And I was like, thank goodness, because I could not handle that. Like, what would I do with myself? That is not something that I ever would want to do, but like, to work with them, I think would be really amazing. But I'm also a little bit nervous about working with an actor that I really look up to and them being a major jerk.
Yeah, I've heard that Meryl Streep is such a...
Well, the makeup artist on a commercial I did a couple months ago said that she worked on a film with Meryl Streep and she was not that pleasant.
Oh.
And I was like, that's so sad to hear, but she was also saying, like, every person ever was mean and unpleasant, except for Kristen Chenoweth. She said she really liked her.
Aww.
But I feel like it's a little bit hard to judge actors, and you shouldn't necessarily judge actors if you don't spend a ton of time with them. I don't know in what capacity she was working with Meryl Streep, but she was not. Like, I'm guessing she wasn't the main makeup artist on this film.
Yeah, she wasn't, like, the makeup artist to Miss Streep.
Yeah, so if you meet them once and it's a day where they have a really emotional scene or something, I feel like for me as an actor, sometimes it's hard because I feel stressed that I want to be pleasant and fun to be around and stuff. But if I have a really emotional scene or something, not that I need to walk around being in a bad mood all day, but sometimes it's just hard if I know I'm going to set in half an hour to do this scene after you finish my makeup. I don't always feel like being super chatty and bubbly because I'm like nervous and trying to get in the right headspace and stuff.
Yeah, and I feel like I'm also just pretty shy, so when I'm on set with a bunch of new people, I try really hard to be personable and talk to them, but especially when you're getting your hair and makeup done, sometimes I just really don't know what to talk to them about, so if they're not super talkative, I'll sometimes try to make conversation, but sometimes I just feel so awkward and I don't want to bother them, so I might come across as not very pleasant, but it's not because I'm trying to be cold to them, it's just because I am awkward.
And I've always felt like it's more professional when you're getting your makeup done to not talk unless you're being talked to, because depending on what they're doing, I don't want to be flabbering away and they're trying to put lip gloss on me or something. And sometimes, I mean, I'm really sensitive to people touching my neck. And so if they're ever putting makeup on my neck, I will be like completely tensed up and I'm not going to talk because I'm trying not to scream. Think that they're strangling me, or like I've had really intense like special effects makeup and stuff and it just hurts. And so
yeah. I would take that with a grain of salt because I feel like a lot of people, I mean, they say this on interviews and stuff, so they might just be lying, but I feel like most people have very positive things to say about her, and I think that sometimes, I mean, I wasn't there when you met this makeup artist, so I'm not saying anything against them, but I feel like people often want to say that celebrities weren't nice to them or whatever because, I don't know, I think maybe it just takes them down a peg. I think also everybody has bad days or off days, and I think that you hear so often people say like, I met this person in an airport and they were so mean to me, but you have no idea what's going on with them. And so I think that you can't really judge people based on a couple interactions because celebrities are just judged so much based on everything they do, whereas a normal person can have bad days and off days and bad interactions and it not impact their public image so much.
I have two things to say. First of all, definitely I am taking that with a grain of salt because I absolutely adore Meryl Streep and I would love to work with her more than anything not more than anything in the world, but that would definitely be on the top 5 of my bucket list. Don't worry. If anybody knows Meryl Streep and was gonna hire me to work with her and then was like, oh, I don't think she's gonna like her, you can still hire me. But my other thing I was gonna say is I especially hate when people judge celebrities or anybody based on meeting them in the airport, because I gotta tell you, if people saw me at the airport, they would judge me so badly. Now, I'm not always in a bad mood at the airport, but I either just got off a plane and I look like a disaster because I won't get into it too much, but the way that the seats on airplanes are in such a way that I can't have my hair all the way up or all the way down because it's really uncomfortable, so I'll have them in like this crazy side ponytail that looks really terrible. comfortable. And I usually am like wearing sweatpants and stuff. And sometimes you're just really stressed, or your Uber's not coming, or you can't get your phone to work, so you can't order an Uber, or your flight's delayed, or you can't get your bags, or whatever. I mean, if you listen to our last episode, then you know that the airport can really suck. And so there's been times when I'm chasing Ashley down the airport screaming at her.
Yeah, we fight a lot at the airport.
Not a lot, but it's happened. Yeah. So I don't think I'm an all-around bad person, but if you saw me at the airport, you would probably think I was a criminal.
Yeah, not to go back to airports since we talked about that on the last episode, but I just wanted to say real quick, I do not understand how those business people fly in their business suits. That just seems so uncomfortable. Mm-hmm. And like, if I did that, my suit would be all wrinkly. I don't know. I admire them, but it's crazy.
I always thought it was cool when you see people flying in business suits. Like, I always want to be a businessy person and, like, dress in business suits and go do businessy things. And it's so cool to me when we're traveling for stage bugs and you have to put if your travel is for business or personal and you say business. The actual act of traveling in a business suit does not sound appealing.
No. Okay, what were we talking about? Oh, okay. So back to my question. Mm-hmm. I am really torn about this because not that I'm having all these opportunities to work with celebrities or actors that I look up to, so it's not a problem yet. And obviously, if I got a job, I would be really excited about it. But sometimes I'm like, this actor is so amazing and so inspiring to me, and I really want to work with them. But then I'm also like, I don't know if I actually want to because I just look up to them so much. I feel like it would be so awkward because I'm always like watching them do stuff and like stalking them. And I just feel like it would be really awkward. And I'm just I'm sure it would be a really great experience. And I think actually acting with them would be so amazing. But I think that I would just be so stressed and so worried about what they thought about me, and I just think I would, first of all, not do a very good job, and second of all, not be very fun to work with because I would be like so nervous around them, and I don't think they probably want people to feel like that. So, I mean, I would try to not be, and I'm sure that after a couple days I would feel more comfortable. But I mean, I have this problem even with people at school or in my classes that I think are really cool. Like, I have a really hard time interacting with them normally because I just admire them or look up to them or put them on a pedestal. So I always feel like I'm more awkward around them, and I have a hard time like thinking of myself as an equal to them, you know?
I know. I feel like I have that same problem that I look at most people and think they just must think they're so much better than me and they don't want to talk to me, so I'm not going to want to talk to them. I actually wrote a blog post about this because I hadn't written a blog in a while and I felt like I should. In one of my playwriting classes, there was this girl who I really judged because I was like, she just thinks she's so much better than everybody else. She never really talked to me at all. And like, I was in a group with her one time and I felt like she just thought I was such an idiot. And so I just thought she was like this judgy, mean, popular girl. And then she was telling this story the other day about, like, it was something that actually happened to her about how shy she was in high school and how she was just, like, always left out and, like, was too afraid to make friends. I mean, I think there definitely are some people who just are judgy or think they're better than everybody else. But I feel like that's not the only time that I've heard somebody who I, like, put on such a pedestal say something like that. And then I'm like, I wonder if they think that I'm not talking to them because I think I'm better than them and not because I think that they just would want nothing to do with me because they're too cool for me. Mm-hmm. So I also feel like we all need to have a little bit more, like, I guess, empathy, but also understanding that most of us are probably feeling the same way. And I feel like everybody just wants to be loved and respected. And like I said, I'm sure that there are some people who are sitting around judging people and wanting to think that they're better than everybody else, but also maybe that's because they're insecure and they're trying to make themselves feel better. I think it's something I really need to work on, is not being afraid of other people and maybe thinking that I can be an equal to them, or that being open to the possibility that maybe they don't think that I'm an idiot and they're a princess.
Yeah, that's interesting. I always wonder if people who are the cool, popular kids if they know that they are or feel like they are. Because I think that everybody has different people that they idealize or think are cool and popular, but I feel like for the most part, everyone can kind of agree on who is like the popular group at their school or in their workplace or whatever. So I think that based on some people's behavior, it seems like they really think that they are the bomb.com. But I also always wonder if those people who seem like they're so cool and popular feel like they're so cool and popular, or if they have no idea that they are.
And it feels so silly to like talk about this because I feel like it's such a middle school thing to be like, oh, the popular girls and they don't want to talk to me or blah, blah, blah. Like, we're adults. Can't we just all get along and like respect each other? But it doesn't feel that way. And I feel like the adults that I know who are super grown out of college and like have real jobs and stuff, they have the mean person at their work or the person who doesn't want to talk to them. Or I feel like it lasts through your whole life. Which then is so funny because when I was in elementary school and middle school, I definitely had very clear vision of the separation between the popular kids and then like the popular theater kids who weren't like the most popular kids, but they didn't want anything to do with me. And then like my people at the bottom of the barrel. And then now teaching stage bugs, you can like really see who's the popular, quote unquote, popular kids and who's not. And it seems so, what's the word? Trivial. Yeah. The popular kids, the kids who seem like they're popular, they're just desperate for people to love them and they want attention because they just want to have friends and to like feel loved. And then there's the quiet kids who are sitting off by themselves in the corner and they feel the exact same way. They just want somebody to want to be around them, but it's just the way that they approach it. But if you took Susie Sue, who you can tell she's like the cool bad word in her sixth grade class or third grade class or whatever, and then Sally Smith, who you can tell is like kind of quiet and shy and needs to come out of their shell, and then you put them together for something and then they're like best friends and they're chasing each other around the theater, and then you're like, oh my gosh, that was a terrible idea, because now not a terrible idea actually, but like then they're both out of control, whereas you could count on the quiet kid to like listen. But from a friendship perspective, it's really eye-opening because then it makes you wonder or believe, I guess, that the same hierarchy that you feel in whatever you're doing is probably just as trivial.
Yeah, it is really interesting working with kids because you kind of see all of the things that were in play when you were that age that seemed so important. And I'm not saying that it's not important, because when you're that age, it is super important. But it's at our age, those things seem like they don't really matter that much. You know, they're not even going to remember those things in a couple of years. So I feel like you can kind of try to apply that to your own life. I mean, I keep thinking this because this is my last semester at USC, and I'm always so worried about what everybody thinks of me. And there's this incident the other day with a staff member at SDA and everybody at, which is the School of Dramatic Arts at our school. And it was something where it seemed like they were thinking very poorly of me because of a mistake that I made that I didn't know that I made.
Yes, because she didn't actually do anything wrong. They sent an email saying to do something and she did it, and then they accused her of cheating.
Yeah, pretty much. And I was just so stressed out about it, and I just couldn't stop thinking about it, and I felt so terrible even though I was trying to follow instructions. But anyways, then I was like, why am I so worried about this? I'm leaving in a couple of months, so honestly, who cares what this person thinks of me? And I mean, I think you shouldn't go into everything with that thought process, because you don't want to burn bridges and you want to make connections with people and have friends. And both for your personal and professional life, I think it's important to try to give people a positive impression of you. But I also feel like I've just been so stressed this past week since the semester started all the time about what people think of me. And like yesterday, I was walking somewhere in my pajamas at night, and I was like, oh my gosh, everyone's gonna think I'm such an idiot. And then I was like, okay, but also who cares, because I'm not gonna see any of these people ever again in 3 months. So, you know.
And of the 40,000 people on campus, the number of people that are gonna see you that you know is probably pretty small.
Yeah.
In my business class last semester, my professor gave this statistic that I haven't fact checked it, but he said that people are thinking about you like 97% less than you think that they are.
Yeah.
Which I guess isn't really a statistic that you can fact check. I'm thinking about myself all the time because I am me, and I don't necessarily mean that in a self-centered way. It's just I'm always thinking about what I'm doing or whatever. So then when I think that other people must be constantly sitting there judging me or like whatever, then I have to remind myself that they aren't, because why would they be wasting their time thinking about me if I'm not doing anything that is affecting them? Or especially because I am such an obsessive registration website checker when we have registration open for stage bugs. And I'm always like, why is this person not registering? They must not like us. They loved camp or like, I thought they loved camp last year and now they're not registering. They're not going to do it. But they probably aren't thinking about stage bugs 24/7. Like, it's January 14th right now, so they're probably not even thinking about summer right now. And so I just have to keep reminding myself, like, I'm thinking about it, but they're not. So it doesn't mean anything.
It's kind of funny because I imagine that for the majority of the time in social situations, everybody is sitting around or standing around worrying about what everybody else is thinking about them, but then nobody is actually thinking about you because they're worrying about what everyone's thinking about them. I mean, obviously I don't know because I'm not in other people's heads, but I just feel like based on things that I've heard from people, it seems like that's the way things often go. But it's just so funny because even though, like, I've heard that before about people are thinking about you way less than you think they are, but even though you logically know that, it's still really hard to remember that and not be worried about it.
When we're hanging out, do you think about when I'm thinking about you?
That's a good question. For the most part, no, but sometimes. But I don't think I usually am. But when we're with our family, sometimes when we're with our parents, I do worry about it. Not most of the time, but sometimes. But when we're with other people in our family, yeah, I think about it a lot.
Yeah, I worry about that too a lot, especially if we're with our aunts and uncles or cousins or grandparents. I'm always thinking about that. But I feel like, especially probably now that we're in college and we see them less, I'm very often worried about what our parents are thinking about me.
Yeah.
Like, not always, but if I ever do something that I feel like could possibly even be slightly embarrassing, I'm just like, they must think I'm such an idiot, and I just feel like I have to compensate for it so much. And I was trying to think if I think about that when I'm with you, but I definitely worry about what you're thinking about me when I'm texting you. Like, if I'm texting or emailing you, especially emailing, because right now we have to email each other because we aren't getting each other's texts for some reason. But I'm always like, she must think I sound insane, or she must think I'm so annoying because I'll send you like 12 text messages in a row. Or the other day we were trying to make plans to do something fun together, and I was just really tired and like couldn't make a decision. And so I just sent a bunch of thoughts that was basically like, I'm good with anything and here's why. And then I was like, she must just think I'm so annoying and such an idiot and just hate me because I'm so annoying and I can't just ever have an opinion. I'm not always thinking about it when I'm with you, because when I'm with other people, it's more like I go into it worrying what they're going to think about me, and then usually it'll kind of taper off once I get more comfortable. But I feel like with you, I'm not starting thinking about it. But like I said, if I do something or say something that I think is embarrassing or that you might judge me for, then I'm like, oh my gosh, now I have to make up for it. Now I have to make her think I'm not crazy.
Well, I don't usually think you're crazy.
When do you?
When we're trying to make decisions. Or when you say, sorry, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I think it's because I really worry about you misinterpreting my texts or thinking that I'm stupid.
So you just say sorry?
Yeah.
That's funny. I mean, there are definitely times where I worry about what you're thinking about me, or I feel like you're judging me, or not necessarily feel like you are based on what you're doing, but I just stress that you are, especially with like texts and emails. I'm always worried about what people are thinking when I send them emails. I probably spend like an hour writing a 2-sentence email because I'm just so worried about wording it exactly right and coming across intelligently, but also nicely and professionally. It's just too hard. hard.
Me too. It's ridiculous. I'm trying something for my New Year's resolution to only check my email 3 times a day because I probably check it 50 times a day. Like, I just constantly have to refresh my email, and it's such a waste of time, especially because I'll read emails, and then if they require a long response, I'm like, I don't have time to do that right now. But then I wasted a whole bunch of time reading it, and then I'm probably sitting there worrying about how I'm going to respond to it, but I'm not actually taking the time to respond to it right then. And so I just set 3 times during the day that I'm going to dedicate to checking my email, and I'm trying to not be looking at it other times, but it's so hard. Because first of all, you're worried, like it's so ingrained that you have to be on your email, because what if your professor sends out a last minute assignment or changes where your class is going to be, or your podcast guest cancels last minute or reschedules or whatever. Like, and sometimes I think there's just going to be times where it's unavoidable that I'm going to have to check if I'm like waiting for a response for something. But so far I'm doing a really bad job at it, but I'm really going to try to be more controlled with my email.
It's a very brave resolution. I'm not sure I could handle it.
I mean, like I said, so far I'm not doing very well. Should I also tell them about my terrible email nightmare?
Yeah.
I had this nightmare the other day. It was one of those things where you wake up and you're really stressed after you had a bad or weird dream, but you can't remember what it was at first. So I woke up and I was so stressed, and I was like, oh my gosh, I need to remember why I'm so stressed. And then I remembered that in my dream, it was just a constant stream of me sending emails and text messages and turning in papers where I used the wrong your. So like YOU''RE instead of YOUR. And it was like, I kept realizing this after I had already sent the things, and I physically could not use the correct version of your. So I woke up all stressed out, and I was like, oh my gosh, that was the dumbest dream ever. It was pretty scary. Bad nightmare.
That is scary. I'm glad you woke up from it.
Okay, well, we can end, but I wanted to go back full circle to your original question about actors. If you could work with any actor that you admire, who would you want to work with?
Ooh. Well, that's a hard question since I just said I would be so afraid to do it.
I know, so that's why I'm curious if it would be like the person you most admire, or if it would be somebody that you think would be really fun to work with but you're not like terrified of.
Okay, I think, it's a really good question. Maybe Kristen Chenoweth, because I have always really admired her and loved her, but I also feel like everybody just knows that she's so nice that I think I would be nervous, but I also think I would be less nervous. I mean, not that I think the other actors I look up to aren't nice, but she's just so like bubbly, and I think that I would just be more excited to work with her. But also, I don't know, there's so many actors that I think are just really amazing. Maybe Jessica Chastain, because right now she's the actor that I'm stalking / studying, and I just think that she's such a brilliant actor, so I think that it would be a really amazing experience to work with her. But I also think her and Meryl Streep would be the 2 people that I would be the absolute most afraid to work with.
You want to know why I couldn't work with Kristen Chenoweth?
Why?
Because she is shorter than me, and you know my thing about how I'm so afraid I'm going to squash people who are shorter than me. Have I talked about that on here? Oh my gosh.
You're gonna squash them?
I, like, obviously not kids, but when I'm around adults who are shorter than me, I feel, like, really physically intimidated because, or not intimidated, I guess, but, like, I just feel really uncomfortable because I feel like I'm gonna squash them. Like, it makes me feel so uncomfortable because even if they're just half an inch or an inch shorter than me, I'm in danger to be around them because I'm this Godzilla compared to them, and if I accidentally bump into them or like if I try to give them a hug or something, I'm just gonna squash them like a bug.
Yes, I'm sure that people are very afraid of that when they're around you.
It's so weird, but I was talking to a group of short girls, the other girls who played the kids in Little Women last year. They're all short too, and we were all agreeing that we have the same feeling about being around people who are shorter than us, that we just feel like we're too big to be around them, which is funny because I mean, I haven't asked that many tall people, but I've asked a few, and they've all said that they don't feel that way when they're around short people. But it's probably because they're used to being taller than everyone, and for us, it's like so just weird and feels wrong.
Yeah, I mean, I enjoy meeting people who are shorter than me, but I also feel very awkward like talking to them or doing scenes with them if they're actors. I don't know how to stand because it just feels very uncomfortable. So I can understand that. And I just, maybe because I'm so shy, I feel more comfortable when I'm around people who are taller than me because I don't feel like I stick out. But I don't necessarily feel like I'm going to squash them. If Kristen Chenoweth was wearing heels, would you work with her?
I could probably do it.
Okay.
I would suck it up even if I would do my best to not squash her even if she wasn't.
Can you imagine if that was just like the news story of the week? 20-year-old actress squashes Kristen Chenoweth?
5 foot tall actress squashes 4'11" actress.
Yeah. Okay, but who would you work with?
Well, Meryl Streep would be my number one, but I would really love to work with Julie Andrews.
Oh, that would be cool.
And he did a thing at SDA, but it was over Zoom. But John, I don't know if he goes by John or Jonathan, but John Lithgow.
Yeah.
I think he is, I don't know why, I just really like him. I think he's really hilarious. And Dick Van Dyke is also, we were just watching something from his 90th birthday, and he's
98th birthday.
That's what I said.
Oh, it sounded like you said 90th.
Oh, no, I said 98th. He's so adorable.
Yeah. I also think I would like to work with Will Ferrell because I just think he's really funny. I mean, there's a lot of people that I would really like to work with, but Elf is just like my favorite movie ever. But he would probably hate me because I would make him do Elf things, like recite lines from Elf all the time, and he'd be like, oh my gosh, I hate this girl.
I feel like I would be the most intimidated to work with comedians or like really funny people because I would feel like I bring it down too much.
Actually, that's true. Maybe I wouldn't want to because I'm not funny, so I feel really uncomfortable when I have to do funny things.
And like I try to be funny, but I'm not.
Yeah.
Especially like in real life. Like I come from a dad who makes really bad dad jokes, so like my jokes aren't funny. So I feel like I would just feel super intimidated because I wouldn't want to try to be funny and seem like an idiot, but I wouldn't want to seem like a boring jerk with no sense of humor.
And sometimes when I try to be funny, because I feel like my sense of humor is, well, I don't necessarily feel like I have a sarcastic sense of humor, but it's just like the only way I know how to be funny. And we're sarcastic with each other a lot. So sometimes when I'm trying to be funny, I will say something sarcastic that I think is really funny, but people never realize that I'm being sarcastic. So then they think I'm either really stupid or really mean.
Yeah, I appreciate your sarcasm.
Thank you.
Oh, I would also really want to work with Octavia Spencer. I don't know why. I've just always really liked her. I think she seems like a really, like, I feel like it would be really fun to act opposite her.
Yeah.
Like, you know how some people just seem like they would be really good scene partners? Mm-hmm. And I have a couple of professors that I would really like to work. Like, I would love to do a play with Sharon Carnegie.
Me too.
She really wants us to do 12th Night, like a gender bent version of 12th Night where we play both twins. So we should do that and cast her in something.
Yeah. I would like to be in a play that she directs.
Yeah.
I think that would be really amazing.
Okay, we can hire her to direct our 12th
Okay,
Night.
let's do it.
Okay.
She might be a little outside of our budget, but...
Well, she likes us.
Yeah. Okay, we got to visit her a lot this semester so we can butter her up.
Okay, yeah, we should go visit her.
We should. This is random, but I was listening to a podcast the other day and they were talking about some actor. I can't remember who it was. It might have been Tom Hanks, but it was some older male actor who's very popular, and they said, he's the Meryl Streep.
Nah. That's funny.
I thought it was cute. Okay, we didn't actually do what we were planning on doing in this episode because we just blabbered on and on, but I feel like we should end it because it's been 42 minutes.
Whoa, yeah, we can do it next time.
Okay, well, stay tuned for our next episode because we had something fun we were going to do. Hopefully you enjoyed that conversation, but you might have been really bored, so if you were, sorry.
I enjoyed it.
I enjoyed it too, and that's all that matters because nobody listens.
Yeah, my other New Year's resolution is to get 1,000 subscribers, and we are really far from that goal, so help us.
Help us, please.
Okay, bye.
Bye, love you.